Hello everyone, and welcome to the brick formula instruction video on LEGO set 8041, the race truck. And in this video, I'll show you how to modify this set using power functions so that you can play with this remote controlled truck that you see here. Okay, that's the final product. Now before I begin, I just want to point out that this video was intended for people who are new to this and they want to get into this hobby, because I am new myself. And if you're a professional and you're good at this, then this video may not be for you, but you're welcome to watch. Just leave me some constructive feedback down below in the comments, okay? Because you'll find that some of my techniques are a little basic, and I only used the parts that came in this set. I didn't add any additional parts. Okay, so granted, there will be some things that are not perfect, alright? So I just want to point that out, and I'll mention them later on in the video. Okay, so for now, let's just show you how to build it first. And here we go. Okay, for starters, just build the set like normal, going through each step in each page until you get to page 14 and stop at step 26. Okay, so just do this, but don't do this side, okay? Instead, we're going to do this. First, you need to get these parts, alright, and what you do here is you take this L shape, again, you're going to stick that in there. Okay, there we go. Now you have a closer look. And you do the same with this side, and there we have it, okay? And then over here, you can take these two rods and put it through these holes over here. Don't get any wrong ideas. Okay, and there we go. Since you stopped at step 26, okay, on page 14, you should have this assembly in front of you. And you'll take this piece right here and put that over here. Okay, and there we go. See how that fits nicely? And you take this part and line it up over here and squeeze these rods in. Okay, and there we go. Okay, there's a closer look. And then from here, you're going to skip to step 28 on page 20. You're going to do step 28 and keep going until I tell you to stop. Now on page 24, I want you to stop on step 12. Okay, you're going to do step 12, but don't do step 13 on page 25. You're going to skip this. And instead, you're going to get these 7 parts right here. Okay, you have a 3M and a 4M stick. And what you do is you take this piece and put it through this hole here. And you put this one on the other side. Okay, and then next, you're going to take this one that has 5 holes in there, and you put it on the bottom. And this gear is next. And over here we have a piece with 7 holes in here. Okay, and you put that on the bottom. Alright, and just put that aside for a second. Since you stopped at step 12, you should have this assembly in your hands. Okay, you're going to take this gear, and you're just going to put that in the middle here. And then you're going to put this through this hole over here, and then insert into the gear. Okay, and there we go. So just behave. Alright, and there we have it. Okay, and then next, if you look on page 26, they'll tell you to take that assembly and lock it in. And that's what we'll do. Okay, so you're just going to line this up over here, like so. Okay, it should be just right, it won't fall out. And just lock it in. There we go. And there we have it. Okay, there's a closer look. It's a little bit wobbly over here, but it's okay. We're going to take care of that right now by putting in the XL motor. Okay? Actually, before we do that, we have to put this gear in the middle. Alright, you're going to need a 4M stick. You have this piece right here, and just put it roughly like that. Okay, and then you're going to put the gear in the middle here between these two wobbly sticks. Okay, so you can get a better look. Alright, and then you're going to put this stick through the center. And there we go. If you could just be so kind as to go in. Okay, and there we go. Alright. And then now, you will need these 2 pieces. And you're going to put it through these 2 holes right here, and that should hold everything in place. Okay, you also need this here because that's what helps hold the XL motor in place. Okay, and just put it through these 2 holes right here. Okay, anyway, there it is. Alright. See how that works? There's a closer look. And here it is from this side. Okay, now we put the XL motor. Now, to get set up to put the motor in, you'll need the XL motor, which looks like this. Okay, and you'll need these 4 parts right here. We have the 9M stick, and you're going to put this piece on there. About that much in is fine. Next, you take the motor and have the word LEGO facing you, the wire on top, and on this side here, you can put this piece through the top hole, and that's as far in as it goes. Okay, notice how that's in there, okay? And then you take the assembly over here and you want to get this blue piece into this hole right here, and this one will go to the top like so. Okay, and there we go, and that will hold the motor in place. Alright, next you're going to take this little gear and you're going to put it on top of the beige color one right there. Okay, and you're going to take this rod and just insert it through everything, and then it's going to go into that, see where that orange part is right there? You're going to put that into the motor. Okay, and there we go, and once that's really in there, you can use this and lock it in. Okay, and there we go. Now you can continue to page 26, 27, 28, and keep going until I tell you to stop. When you get to page 44, you need to stop. Okay, do not do step 45, and don't do step 46 either. Okay, you're going to skip that, and when you get to page 47, you will do step 48. Alright, once you do this, you're done with the first book. Okay, and now we can move on to the second one. Now in book 2, once you get to page 4, you're going to do step 50, and then you're just going to pause over here. Okay, your assembly should look like this so far. Okay, and then next, you're going to have these 6 parts over here, and what you're going to do now is build these little T sections. Okay, like so. Alright, you got to make another one. Alright, this is what's going to help hold the M motor, and you're going to look on the back side of the cab here. Okay, here's a closer look, and you stick these right above this piece right here. Okay, so you have that, and this will go on the other side. Okay, and then continuing on, you will need to pick out these 9 parts right here. Okay, and you're going to take this one, which is 7 holes, and you put these on the sides here, and then you take the blue one and you put it next to it like so. Okay, and then next you have these with 3 holes, and you're going to put them in like that. Okay, I'm going to do it to the other side, and that'll just go in. Alright, and then we have another one, and this time we'll put it this way. Alright, and here is another one, and then we're going to put that aside for now. Next, you take the M motor, okay, and then these 4 parts. This is a 4M, okay, and this will go right in the middle. Okay, and then these 3 will go on top, right above it. See, that's how that works. And then to the sides. Okay, and there we go. Now to put this assembly all together. Now, before we put it all together, you need to take one of these parts, which has 5 holes, and you need to put it on this section over here. Okay, this way it's all connected. Alright, like that. And there we go. Okay, and then you're going to push this back down. And that's what you have. Take a closer look. And there we go. See? And now you're going to take this assembly, and you're going to put it right behind the seat, but in the front of this part, okay? And that'll just go down pretty nice. There we go. And that's how that looks. Okay? And then next, you're going to take your motor and make sure this side is facing the front, and that this axle piece will go down into that gray piece right there. Okay? And just put in like so, and that should fit in just nicely. There we go. Okay, now I'll take a closer look, see how that all works. And there it is. See how it's into the pipe right there. Okay, and now we can move forward and just keep going. You want to continue back on page 5 in the second book, and just keep going until I say stop. When you get to page 29, okay, you're going to skip this whole section because we used up all the parts here. Okay, and you want to skip that because we're not going to use the 5th wheel. Alright, this build uses pretty much almost all the parts that are in the set, so something's got to give. Okay, and that's why we're not doing that. And we're going to skip up to page 31, and then you can continue again on page 32. Okay? Now when you get to page 36, on step 7, this is where things get a little bit interesting, because it depends on what kind of battery box you're using now. If you're using the rechargeable one, then when you get to step 7, don't add this tube that you see here. Just add the other piece that you see over here, okay, and then you'll end up with this piece right here. if you're going to use the AA battery box, then just ignore whatever I'm saying and just keep going, okay? Just add the tube, whatever. Okay, but since you're using the rechargeable battery, just go on to the next step where they tell you to add this thing here, okay, without the tube, of course. And you're going to add that right here. There we go. And then when on the bottom here, they'll tell you to add this piece to the first part right here. What I want you to do is to put in the second one instead, because this way your battery box will fit in here. We're going to use this to lock it in place, which I'll show you coming soon, okay? And now, let's just keep going, and then stop when I tell you to. Now, if you got this far, that means you finished with the book, and now it's time to explain how all the power functions work together. Okay, let's take a look at the receiver first. And if you look on the back side, it is the blue and the red. Okay, and what that does is it coincides with the remote here, where there's a blue and a red as well. Okay, that means whatever you hook up to the blue side, you'll be controlling it with the blue side over here. Okay, and we'll take the XL motor wire, and we'll hook that up to the blue side over here. It really doesn't matter where you put it, there's no wrong way, it's just a matter of preference. Okay, that means I'll be controlling the truck moving forward and backward with the blue side, and the steering will be done with the red. Okay, and that means I'll be taking the wire from the M motor, which controls the steering, and I'll be hooking up to the red side over here, like that. Okay, it's that easy. And then there's a wire from the receiver. You're going to use that and hook it up to your battery box. Okay, in this case, the rechargeable. You can hook it up to the AA battery box if you want, it doesn't matter. And just to test it, okay, you can just turn on the battery box, you get the green light, you take the remote, and you want to make sure the switches here are on the same frequency, okay? Make sure this one says 1, and this one says 1. Well, it doesn't matter, as long as they're the same number, okay? And there we go. Alright, not bad. And there's the steering. Now, when it comes to placing these power functions, you actually have a lot of freedom, okay? Just get 2 black pegs, and put it in there, and you can hook this up wherever you like. You can put it on the roof, or on the side here, which is what I'm going to do. As long as this part is exposed, you're okay, because that's how the remote signals the receiver, okay? And I'll just put that over here, and then the wire from the receiver, you can hook it up to either battery box, like so. Okay, there's the rechargeable, and I'll put that on the side here, and lock it down with this part over here. Okay, the reason why I have it so loose like that is because in case I run out of power and I want to recharge it, I have easy access, okay? And it's also easy to turn it on and off, okay? Now, if you have the AA battery box, which is over here, you can hook this up behind the cab, right there, and you just need these 2 black pegs over here, okay, and just hook it up to the side, okay, which is not hard. There we go. And here's the other one. Just want to stick it through this hole over here, okay, and there we go. And there we have it. It's a little bit loose, but it's fine though, okay. And you just hook up the receiver like that, and there we go. You're done. All right, and here we are with the finished product. Now, to talk about the drawbacks. As some of you might know, I'm not exactly an engineering genius. All I did was I went out there, I bought this Technic set and the power functions, and I put it together, and this is what I ended up with. Okay, I had no help, all right? And obviously there will be some imperfections. So I'll talk about the first one, which is the steering. Now the steering works just fine. The only problem with it is that it does not return to center very well, okay? Which can be pretty annoying when you're driving it. So when you turn it, don't be surprised that it's not driving straight in the direction that you want it to. Okay, you'll end up driving in zigzags, which is pretty annoying. But you can probably fix that with some extra parts, like rubber bands or whatever. Okay, that's where all the fun begins. All I'm doing is just to help you get started. Okay, and with some extra parts, you can probably add some different gears over here. Because as you can see, the gears there are pretty small, which means that this truck can only go so fast. Okay, you might find it a little bit slow, but then again, it depends on what you think is fast. Next, the one thing that bothers me the most is the infrared technology itself. Okay, now when you play with this indoors, you have a maximum range of 30 feet, which is pretty amazing. So I got all excited and I went to play with it outside, only to find that the range was about 10 feet. And the reason why is because there's a lot of interference from the sunlight. So that's it, 10 feet. Okay, so that was pretty frustrating and miserable. A little swearing went on. And then I brought it back inside to play with, okay? But still, this is a pretty fun hobby to get into, very educational, and hopefully through this tutorial you can build amazing things from here on, okay? Because this is pretty cool. Alright, and that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this show, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.